Tuesday, January 18th. Got a motion to open the meeting.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have the minutes from December 18th, 2023. Quick minute to look at
December
that.
14th. Motion, I'll make a motion to accept
That's 18 and
the
14.
minutes of December 14th.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
No meeting mail, no appointments. All right, on the business, we have the National Golf Foundation update. This thing Mr. Singer and I have missed each other a couple of times. I know we're waiting to get a revised draft of the report. I just admit, in my own schedule at work, I keep missing him to just discuss a couple things, but I can follow up and see if he's ready to send it. I know he's willing to talk to us through a Zoom call if we wanted to, and then certainly if we feel we're kind of at the final report, they'll come up in person.
Any sense of when that will be scheduled?
I know he's really waiting for us. I don't know if we wanted to have, even like the Zoom call, we wanted to have multiple of us instead of, just me. If we want to meet somewhere where we have a computer where we could do that and go through it with him, or schedule that for, anybody online, even if I know maybe going away, but if anybody else wanted to, we could
Right.
talk to him together.
Is there going to be a proposal to the Board of Selectmen?
Yes, that's one of the things that they're going to do is once we're, at least from our perspective, satisfied with the report, they will come up and present it to the Board of Selectmen and anybody else who wishes to hear it. Then they'll come up in person at that point and do that. I think they just wanted to make sure that we, as a golf committee, were, say satisfied, not thinking that anything was missing in the report before they come and do that phase of it. Again, that's just a couple of the questions that we had. I know he was calling me back about it, and we just keep missing each other.
So he has responded to those questions by revising the report, you assume?
Yes, through some emails that we've had, I guess because we missed the calls, but yes, he said that he was anticipating some of the questions we had, that he had some responses to those or revisions to those, would want to go through them to make sure that he's addressing what he felt that we were asking in those questions before, say, putting it in writing again and sending that second draft of the report to us.
Right.
So that's the next step. And then if we look at that and say, yep, this looks like a great final draft, so to speak, then they would come up in person and present to us, the selectmen, and anyone else in person at that point.
So do we need to give a notice to the Board of Selectmen that there will be a presentation coming out?
Sure, I mean, it'd be good to
They
have
can
it.
get it on their schedule.
Right, it'd be good to know potentially when they can, because he's coming up from Florida,
Right,
get
right.
some rough dates from them and then run that by the selectmen and say, would,
Right.
if he can come, make it
Because we're in
these 2 weeks.
we're in the middle of FY25
Right, they're gonna be
review,
budget
then the
stuff.
town meeting,
Right,
so
I will make it a point to get
some,
in personal touch with Richard next week. It's not an excuse for this, but my own job is in the middle of all that stuff.
yeah,
so
right.
It's taking
no,
all my time
I
right now.
understand. So if we can give them a heads up,
But it's, yes, but
because one.
the short answer is it's very close to being like the public done report right now.
Right. I was gonna say, if that's the case, maybe we need to see it and bless it and get things moving.
Yeah.
Because we're not gonna have everything resolved.
Oh, exactly.
Right. And I kind of put 2 pages of that report in our information. Like the first one is the National Golf Foundation's schematic of what they see the layout of the facilities to be. And I don't think it's anywhere near what some of the concepts that are being put forth by some of the members, and especially have an event pavilion where the old practice green is, having a cart storage barn I'm not quite sure where.
It looks like they're going to 9.
Right. And moving the putting green,
All right, what's this? I can't see that.
Oh, this is wrong. I mean, we don't want
That's,
this.
that's the practice tee for the driving range,
Okay.
just rotating it a little
All
bit.
right. Okay.
you can see the layout where the holes, where the cart path is
Yeah,
from the 6th,
yep.
Mm-hmm.
and where the pro shop is supposed to be. You can see where the current flag is, which I assume is the flag pole.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you can see the outline of the clubhouse, the flag that they have listed there. I don't think that's accurate because that's the shadow of the clubhouse. The flagpoles are in front of it.
Yeah, no, so he's saying that would be the new location of it. That's how I interpreted that picture.
Yeah. Well, he's got
This one, yeah.
and he's got the what he's
I mean,
calling
three
cart
buildings,
barn
I mean,
in
it's just one
the
building.
drainage area.
Well, part of it, if you look, each one, you listed at 4,000 square feet, because I also know that from that first day that we were talking about, if you build something larger than, I think it's 4,000, it's when it triggers the need for, because you have to put sprinkles in it, so I think he was trying to take into
Okay,
the building code
right.
of.
So I
if you
assume
have,
this
like, close,
schematic will still be in the report.
but right, short of us saying that, no, we don't want that at all, that's the
Right,
page that's
right.
still there.
Which I don't think we're ready to
For
do.
them.
And maybe, right, and I think they were just looking conceptually at space. I know he was also looking at, well, if you didn't want to get into the expense of putting in sprinkles in a building, if you kept each component smaller than 4,000 square
Right.
feet, it wouldn't trigger that.
Right, right.
So, he said that that's been kind of the concept in some areas that, the clubhouse pro shop part, I should say, is kind of freestanding, and it's a short walk to where, like, say, the food or bar or whatever
Mhm.
event space would be. And then would you just have a covered storage, whether, I still think probably makes sense, you could put the storage underneath the cart path, not the cart path, the cars themselves. Again, it's the topography and everything, so this was, I think, this very preliminary
Right.
sketch to say, where could you potentially put it? It would make sense for the pavilion to be overlooking the 18th green and try to keep it, in his mind, I think in this version, each segment under 4,000 square feet to not trigger the sprinklers.
So that will continue to be in the report. In the
Yes, for now.
cost.
Yeah.
The next page is just a copy of the estimated potential costs, capital expenditures. As an example, he has the parking lot,
Right.
which I think is just about, schematic-wise, looks similar to what we have. And he's recommending the estimated cost of between $480,000 and $600,000. Now, just as a reference, I asked Steve to get an estimate to redo the parking lot asphalt.
Yeah.
And the cost came in at between 80 and 90.
80, 90.
Between 2 inches or 3 inches,
Yeah.
90,000. So there's a big difference.
You think?
That's kind of why I asked you.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, I don't know how he came up with his number, whether or not he tried to calculate in going out to bid prevailing wage and all that good
Right.
stuff.
Well, I'm
So-
sure that's in these figures, I'm sure he's using like industry standards for new construction, full prevailing wage standards versus having the ability to, if a base is already there, buying that material ourselves wholesale, having access to some equipment and labor, so some of those assumptions, you're right, I'm sure are overly
Right.
on the
Yeah.
high side.
I just pointed it out because when I look at the facility and I look at the things that need to be improved, with the understanding that the golf course is highly acceptable to our customers, the biggest improvement I see is the parking lot. It's a mess.
Yeah.
And if we're gonna estimate it, we can drop the estimate down considerably if we move forward with that parking lot, either through CPA funding or just out spending the 90,000 or
Right.
so to do it as soon as possible.
Right, we could, if we could get it done for that amount, and I know you mentioned briefly before about changing some of those swales and getting even more parking available out of the available
Right.
land,
Mhm.
it'd probably be a wise investment as long as, and even then, it's not a big deal, it's like some of the areas, we wouldn't want to pave something that we're gonna then, let's say, dig up in a year.
Yeah.
But if you just have a
Right.
basic idea of, well, say from here forward is absolutely gonna be parking no matter what we do, right, then do all
But that's
that.
basically, even with his schematic.
Right, it's not even touching the
No,
existing
right.
parking lot.
So it's like, that's gonna be there,
Yep.
and we need, you know, I think it's a big improvement for the golf course. And Manny and I asked Steve to see if Tim Garish can get it. He indicated he can get involved in doing a schematic for that.
Well, you can do a conceptual design. The other thing they have to, the drainage is already there. The only thing you have to determine is whether or not by removing those swales, you're increasing the surface area runoff, which might affect the size of your drain. But from what I can tell, the drain that's existing there would easily handle that. And it's not so much even creating a new drain, it's just tapping into the existing. Because that goes to a detention basin behind the ninth green. That swale behind the ninth green, that's where the drainage goes. And as long as, that's, what we would be doing would involve, or would be within the scope of stormwater runoff, then you wouldn't have to really significantly address the drainage. And,
I think you can put another row of carts there.
yeah, oh yeah, you could
If you
put
trim
another,
the
yeah.
trees and get rid of the swells, then the drain should take that.
Well,
It takes
right
it
now,
down.
the other thing about the parking lot right now is that there's nothing that defines where people park.
No.
So what people do is
Space.
a guy will park this
Space
way,
and
another
that.
guy will park this way, so the two cars take up 4 spaces.
Right.
So if you were to pave it and paint the lines, you might even be able to do something as simple as, depending on how this structure is designed, as opposed to having 90-degree parking areas, you put the parking spaces on an angle,
Right.
and you might be able to may be able to
You
fit
might be able to
more.
get more in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, as dividers, you could just put a simple raised berm or something in the middle, whether or not you'd want to
You
put.
can line it, they obey it. We lined ours, and we got 4 lanes,
Yeah,
and there's no problem there.
yeah, so,
But that, if that really is the estimated price, it's probably worth it to just go ahead and
So we're
pursue
gonna,
that.
we're gonna Steve is gonna get information from Tim, the cost of doing a conceptual.
Yep.
And by the next meeting, hopefully we can say, go ahead.
Yep.
he's supposed
Go a little further. In which case, then we need to go to the Board of Selectmen.
Right, the big use of funds for it, yeah.
And we might be able to get closer to the flagpoles and eliminate that road that goes by there. Just use the one that's gonna go by the what we plan to put.
Yeah, exactly.
The building
More
there.
space,
I
yeah.
would just tear down that circle and put the flag somewhere else.
Well, you can't tear the circle down
Septic.
because that's the septic.
Oh, it
The
is?
septic system
Yeah.
comes off the pro shop.
Oh, they
And then-
pump it there
and-
from
well,
there.
it comes from there. It gets pumped uphill to the 17th. So
So it's just a pumping station there. That's
yeah,
all.
you can leave the pump station. Yeah. So
So, but we can go up to it.
To it.
yeah, I don't know. What the I know on regular septic leach fields you can't put any hard surface over top.
No.
I don't know what it has. I don't know about pumping stations or whatever. But
Oh, they put the pumping stations right on the street. They
yeah.
were gonna put one when they did the drains here. One was gonna go right in front of my driveway.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Right there on,
So where's yours now?
I went through the back, so I
Oh, okay.
eliminated
Oh, all
that.
right, all right. Just curious. That's a smart move.
It don't cost any more money, but it's all right.
See, they're doing a lot of work over there.
Yeah, come and see it.
I'm
See a
not- I
lot
have
of
to go
2x4s.
I gotta talk to Jeff.
One and 2x4, a lot of 2x4s.
Yeah.
All right, so maintenance wages is the next thing we have. So my assumption is the Board of Selectmen did look at it and revised the upper end of the range. Is that what the outcome
Right,
was?
right.
They didn't get to approve it.
Well, it didn't go to the Board of Selectmen, it went to a meeting.
It was just a meeting.
With you folks, yeah.
Between us.
The rate,
And,
the rates that you see there, on the upper end are $1 short than what I proposed when, that had been requested of me at the last meeting. So, or $1 lower, I should say. And then, I think we can, I think we can work within those ranges. The proof in the pudding will be to see what reaction we get, and what we're capable, and what folks were capable of hiring within those ranges. And again, we're not current, the next Board of Selectmen's meeting is the 22nd, so it looks like we hope to be on the agenda for the meeting of the 6th of February. So without being, so that delays our hiring process somewhat, until we get, an approval of the ranges. Because I don't feel comfortable saying something to someone and then not being able to back it up because it wasn't approved.
All right, so these figures here, proposed range, you're gonna determine that guy's experience?
Well, not his experience,
Or how long,
his,
longevity,
whether he's going
or-
to be part-time, full-time,
Right.
whether or not he's just going to be an equipment, if you're an equipment operator who's doesn't do labor,
Right.
then you're not going to get paid quite as much as an equipment operator who would be able to fill in and do labor as well. You're going to, play back and forth with those, and of course the existing staff would be placed at a particular level, in recognition of their, continued contribution, but 17 to 18-year contribution in most cases. So, and the other thing I'd like to be able to do with these is that, of course, you're going to have new hires coming in, but I'd like to establish the time of pay rate increase to be the first of the fiscal year, so it fits better within the budget. So by that I mean, right now I do a budget from July to December and then January to June. And how that, it's easier, it's more fluid to do the one simple budget and carry into each individual out for the particular number of hours they work per week and the number of weeks they work per year.
All right, so what happens, Steve, do you have someone that does laborer and equipment operator?
At
That
times,
does a
yes.
combo? So
Yeah.
where would you, I'm just curious, where would you put that person as far as wage goes?
Well, they would be somewhere, they would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 to 21. 22 would have to be reserved for the most experienced equipment operator, plus, being able to do, contribute in, edging bunkers, doing tree work in the winter, and so on. I've taken, I'm like, again, I didn't put it in my report, but I've taken those wage ranges and applied what I think is appropriate to the existing staff, plus new people that we would bring in to determine whether or not those changes would be facilitated by the current budget, which I can fit in those changes within the current budget and be somewhat under budget, going towards the end of, carrying through to the end of FY 2024.
All right.
So where it says effective July 1, but
Not
you're
really.
saying ideally we would want to, if we're hiring somebody new, we'd want to be able to hire them when they're.
Yeah, well, see, the effective July 1 was, I didn't put that there.
Right.
That was
I didn't
put
think
there
so.
by someone who took that was put there by someone who took my stuff and presented
All
it
right.
and retyped it after a meeting, so.
Probably
But
would-
yes, if that would be
If
the
we could
case.
do it, it would be effective at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I mean, depending on, we look to bring people,
If we get agreement of the proposed ranges, which is higher than what the Board of Selectmen approved last year.
Right.
and it's within Steve's budget,
Yeah.
we can make the move.
Mhm.
Okay. Sounds good.
We need a motion to approve that.
That's what she's gonna, motion to approve proposing these salary ranges to the selectmen.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Spending out of the article, which we also need to get the selectmen's approval. correct?
Right. This is a list of items that I asked Steve to put together with the estimates from the DPW. And one is to remove 12 trees, 2 to replace 25-year-old ball dispensing machine for the driving range, finish asphalt work on hole number 2, material preparation for holes 8, 9, and 9, asphalt material for 8 and 9, asphalt material to patch specific holes that Steve has identified, 110 and 18, and to upgrade the sprinkler heads on all the greens which we talked
From the
about.
last meeting, yeah.
So we're talking spending from articles that have been approved by town meeting to spend $95,925.
I think this is a good list and it would make a good improvement for the course next year. Season.
Yeah, the key is if a lot of this is to get the DPW to do the work.
Right.
And get it scheduled
Like to get in on
and
that
get an
time.
agreement
Yeah.
that that's how we're going to get this work done. And that again will go before the Board of Selectmen for their approval.
I know we've talked about all these things, but maybe just for the record one more time, when we make a motion to put forward these 7 items to the selectmen for their approval.
Did we?
Yeah, we can do, but now that we have the actual list, it's gonna go,
okay.
we'll just kind
All
of
right,
read.
all right, I thought we went through this, but, okay, I'll make a motion that we adapt these to the selectmen, 7 items.
This spending for these items.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That way our vote matches this exact list, it's gonna go to them. Dana, operations update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Finish up the season, playing season anyways. You look at November's forecast, 45.5, and we finished with December's and November's numbers combined is 136.4. So we had a decent final. We had a meeting in November. We had a couple weeks left, so we finished. Remember, if you guys remember, I told you we were booked pretty well through, and it worked out just that way. So we finished pretty strong. That puts us roughly plus 172 on the fiscal year, if you run your numbers for the year to date.
The rounds are ahead of plan.
Rounds are ahead, yes, yes. And we had some challenging weather this season. We had a little bit more rain than usual, than we've had in the previous two and a half seasons. So we had a strong turnout.
Looks like the pass holder sales were pretty good.
Pass holder sales were very strong. And when we move forward into, maybe our next meeting or so, or 2 meetings from now when we talk about rates, that is definitely on a topic for discussion, is we gotta bump those up. Because we don't want everybody feeding into that program and losing your rack rate off the street prices.
Yeah.
That's, if you've read some of the NGF reports, that's one of the problems with the Cape Cod courses, is they have so many discounted memberships that they're definitely not capitalizing on the volume, and we're doing similar volume as them, and we should just stay on top of it. We have a good mix where we're at, and I wouldn't want to see us go in that direction. You know what I mean?
Good. Great first half of the, well, end of the playing season, but first half of the fiscal year.
Absolutely. I bumped into Ed, I was telling him too, we had, the cots were delivered last week, so those are all set and ready to go, and the update is taking place. So now it's just a matter of fine tuning the training on it for, implementation for usage when we open in the spring. So as of now, there's no database in it to draw, information off of, because it's fresh, brand new. So, and that was part of the delay in doing it after we closed. We were getting a lot of pressure to do it prior to, and we had to, kind of hold them off, because it wouldn't make sense to,
Right, makes sense to start.
3 weeks
clean
worth of
in place.
information on the
Yeah.
system doesn't, so we finished clean, and we're gonna start clean.
Have we reached an agreement when the first payment for these carts will take place?
It was my understanding that it was July, same as usual, July 1 was gonna be the target date, but I will confirm that with the sales rep.
At the same time, I mentioned to you that we got double billed for one of the 14 carts, the 12 carts. And it's still on the expense report. It's 14,000 in change.
I'll touch base with
I
Nick.
don't have any trouble. I personally don't have any trouble if that 14,000 is applicable to next payment due July 1.
Take it off the July 1. I'll check with Nick first, see what the complications are with, getting it removed. And then I'll double check and speak with the sales rep
Yeah,
and see which way we want to move forward.
Nick had the conversation with me, and he said, you need to follow up on it and get it.
Sure.
But that was 3 months ago, so.
And then you got the, is that it then?
That's it.
Good job.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
When would you be able to come forth with a price increases?
Well, I think we usually do that after we determine our budgets, if I'm not mistaken. We do that last. So we would do our budgets, and we usually do that right before we open.
Because it needs to come before the Board of Selectmen.
Yep. So you'd have to finalize your budget numbers, and then once that's discussed and approved, then we would tap into where we want to go with regards to our rates. Now, when speaking with Steve and myself and some vendors, I know everybody said that inflation has fallen off quite a bit, but as I stated previously, I have several food vendors that said they're going up 8%. I'm in contact with some golf supply vendors. I'm gonna get their feedback, because as you know, the CPI index, that doesn't include fuel and food. So the publicized inflation number is not true to what actual people are feeling in their pocketbooks. And anyone that's in the food industry knows that you're still seeing your food price, your bills increasing.
I just saw one of the local restaurants, their fuel delivery price doubled.
Right. So now, if you don't think that that's going to come back when you're ordering products that have to be shipped that use fuel,
Yeah,
right? And if it's a food product, well, now you have fuel and food.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're going to have to, review it, definitely.
Gone up, yeah.
get Steve's maintenance update.
Okay, just a few things to keep people abreast of what we've been doing in the winter. We've had some, obviously we've had some storms recently, some high winds, which have caused us to lose, some minor branches and has down some trees. So we've started on the first hole, went through the first, second, third, and fourth holes, basically cleaning up debris, pruning branches, and taking, completing the cleanup of trees that were taken down or had been basically blown over because of poor root systems and what have you. We're currently working on the tree line to the right of the 6th green and the driving range. We were been stopped because of the wet weather and also because of the icy conditions. Not as much room up there as I'd like to have to put the chipper and the tractor and what have you up there, and the ice makes it just more difficult. So we're going to hopefully get some of that melting next week, and we'll get back to that. We've done quite a bit of it. We have some larger trees that we had to work the smaller trees around in order to facilitate cutting of the larger trees. So we'll be getting back on that. Our brush cutting has been somewhat delayed because of the wet conditions. And once the ground firms up and things dry up a little bit, we'll get back to that. There are some places where we can get the walker out too, but in order to get the bush hog and the tractor, we have to wait until things dry out a little bit. As far as our equipment is concerned, we're in the process of winter maintenance, reel grinding, bearing and seal replacement, and as well as changing hydraulic fluids out, changing hydraulic filters out, and then coming across and repairing those minor things that we only put a Band-Aid on during the season. We're on schedule for that and doing well. We are a little cramped in the building because of because of space, so we're only capable of working on one piece of equipment at a time. So I don't have any problems believing that we'll be ready for the season to start, especially now since a decent amount of the larger equipment is relatively new, so it's not requiring a significant amount of work. So we're lucky in that respect. Couple updates on equipment. As Dana had mentioned, the golf carts were delivered this week. We delivered 42 and they picked up 42. Those new 42 have been inventoried for number and serial number and placed in the cart pen. They do come delivered with very little fuel in them, so we're going to, when we have the opportunity, we're going to start filling the tanks and putting a stabilizer in the tank. I don't really like to leave the gas tanks empty over the winter, because if you do get any condensation, you get water in the gas, and then you start to have issues when you go to use them at the beginning of the year. We do have to do some changing of numbers, because the carts that were delivered were numbered 1 through 42. We have the carts that we have existing are numbered 1 through 20 and 63 through 74. So we've sat down, made a match of numbers. We've got the decals to change the numbers. I just want to wait till it warms up a little bit. So the decals, going on the cold equipment shell, the golf cart probably won't hold as well. So we're holding off on that until we get to servicing those 34 carts. Right now we have a total of 76 carts, 42 which were 2024s. We have 20 which are 2023s, and you have 14 which are 2022s. I've spoken with Turf Products. Our greens triplexes are to be delivered the beginning of February to Turf Products in Enfield, Connecticut. They will be assembling those, and we're looking at delivery in April of 2024, probably the first week. I spoke with our sales rep, and he gave me the numbers. The total cost, which includes a setup fee, and by setup, when the equipment gets delivered, you get the traction unit itself, and not all of the engine and whatnot and hydraulic hoses are hooked up. You get the traction unit, then you get the reels and what have you. So it basically has to be put together, and that's what they call their setup fee. But the total for the 2 units, which are the triplex, the triflex hybrids, they're called 3320s if anybody wants to be specific. The total for the 2 units, the price is $121,403.50. That includes setup fee. I spoke with the folks at PNC, and he worked up a 5-year dollar buyout lease cost. If you're paying individual month-wise, it would be $2,466 a month, which would result in an annual cost of $29,592. If you were paying a single annual payment, because of the time sensitivity of money, your single payment is approximately $992 less if you make one payment. So that one annual payment would be $28,600 under a 5-year dollar buyout lease. Now, and when in discussions with Turf Products, I requested information on a walking greens mower. We have 4 greens that are somewhat weaker than the others, and 3 of which are significantly more difficult to turn a triplex on when cutting. That would be 3, 4, 7, and 11. Because of the limits to where you can turn a triplex, if you notice that the units that cut on the triplex are out in front. In order for you to get completely through a pass and have room to turn, you have to pull completely off the green. So for instance, when we're cutting the 11th green, we're cutting 12-6, you can't do that because you'll be down the hill and in the weeds. So what happens, what the operators do normally by human nature, is they turn and go to the same spot to turn around a lot of times. And what we're ending up getting is what they call collar decline, because the machines are turning on limited space on the collar. So I'd like to be able to, and what I have done in the past is use a walker. We have an old John Deere walker that I've used in the past, which is swiftly going downhill. And I'd like to replace that. So I talked to Turf Products about a what they call Flex 1021. That's a walker. The 21 means it's a 21-inch walking cut. And the cost for the Flex 21 in a trailer to transport it is, the total cost is approximately $19,350. That includes the mowing unit and the trailer in order to transport it. So I'd like to consider that as an option. Those are significantly more available than other pieces of equipment. If you remember, the original quoted price for the 2 greens mowers was done on the 6/8/2022. So we're almost 2 complete years out on delivery of the triplex. The other thing about the walker, like I said, those are available more recently than they're more available than the actual regular triplexes. You don't have as long of a wait because it's a different construction and production amount on those. So I'd like to be able to consider that as an addition, which will enable us to take care of those 4 particular greens.
How old is the one we have?
20. Well, we got them in 2006, and they were used at that time. So I'm going to guess they're probably in excess of 23, 24 years old. And again, the issue with the age is getting parts for it, but it's also, we're getting to the point where there's nothing left to grind on the reel. So you'd have to replace the reel on it, and the clutch doesn't hold. There's a safety switch. When you have to pinch the switch and engage the clutch in order for the machine to move forward. Well, the safety switch doesn't, the clutch doesn't stay in place, so when you go to turn, the clutch pops out and the machine stops. And then you have to, you have to be aware of it or else you're gonna fall over it, but then
How
you have
many
to.
of these you want?
Excuse me?
How many of these? One. Okay.
Just one.
All right.
I mean, it would be nice to have more, but
Yeah.
given our current
No,
situation.
I'm just curious. That one will take care of those 4 greens?
Yeah,
All right, so you figure what, a green, 20 minutes, 25 minutes per green?
yeah, I mean, I can change a cut and cut the green in 25 minutes.
Okay, all right. Plus the little travel time. you
Well, the
gotta
travel
do.
time back and forth. Again, I mean, it's pretty close. 3 and 4 are right next to each other.
So you're looking
7
at
and 11.
probably 2 hours to do 4 greens.
And this,
Yeah.
this is a new one.
That's a new machine.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the price on old one. The
All
thing with these, not many people get rid of them because
No,
they
they
last.
hold on to
They
it,
last
yeah.
for a while if you take care of it.
Yeah.
And that's the other reason why to get the Transprobe trailer as opposed to just throw it on a trailer, because
Yeah, it's
that
got 2
trailer
wheels,
was
right?
specifically made for the machine.
Yeah.
So when you roll it up onto the trailer, the machine falls into a spot and you get to lock it
And then you
in,
lock
so it's
it.
not bouncing
Right.
all over the place and so on. So.
Use that. Believe me.
And that, well, I mean, I used to do it
yeah.
with a trailer that we got from John Deere years ago, and I put the greens walker in front and the tee walker in the back, and I'd cut the certain tees that need to be cut
I
the
know they
greens that
got
need
this.
to be done.
I'm sure you know, they got a 2-wheel thing that you could do the same thing with. You put the walk behind, it hooks up to that 2-wheel trailer, not the full one.
Yeah, this is a 2-wheel trailer.
Okay, yes,
It's
small
either,
thing.
yeah, it's a small trailer. You either get what they call a
one with a deck?
ramp trailer
Right.
with a deck, or you get the rail
Right, the
trailer, which
rail.
has the 2
Yeah,
rails
okay.
that go up.
Yeah, I've used that, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any, I mean, Kevin and I were sitting down trying to figure out what would be the best way to approach, cutting greens, especially at the beginning of the season when we might not have enough people trained, because 3 of the people that we lost were capable of cutting greens, tees, collars, and approaches, and fairways. So, this way, between he and I doing some of the walking, and him doing some of the triplexing and vice versa, we can switch off. We can be more efficient and get some stuff done. And it's better for those particular greens because of the walker. I can turn just anywhere on any of those greens.
Yeah, right.
So I don't have an issue.
Yeah.
I might have to train. When I train somebody, I'll probably train them on maybe the 17th green because it's easy to turn on and it's
Putting
wide.
green.
But once they you have to get used to it because it's self-propelled and you don't want to chase it.
You gotta be, when there's a dip, and you have this much to turn, and you don't turn on the greens,
Well, you got to.
the collar is not that big.
You got to be quick.
Yeah,
and
well,
you
that
have to
thing
know how to-
sometimes runs you. You don't run
Yeah.
it. If
Well,
you
you
don't
have
know
to-
what you're doing.
You have to learn how to.
There you go.
You have to learn how to switch your
And
hands.
believe me.
Well, the good thing,
Scout.
the nice thing about the newer ones is that safety bar.
Once you let go, it
because
stops.
as soon as you let go of it, the machine stops.
Right.
The older machines didn't
No.
have that, so if you let go of it,
It just
it
kept on going.
It kept on cutting till you stopped it. So, but I wanted to bring that up and present that and see what
That's a
feelings
good
were in
idea.
that regard.
I know
And,
it goes through the.
I'd like to make a motion that we purchase the walker
I second that.
and add it to the request.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
No,
about
I
that
mean,
last
that's
summer.
only gonna help you and help the course and everything else, so.
All in favor?
It's not a toy.
Dana, you're gonna be the first one to train on it.
One more.
well, I tell you, for
It's not a toy, John.
it said walk cutting greens and walk cutting tees. I don't know. I used to do it. It's the only real. Actually, you cut 4 greens a day, 6 days a week. You don't need any other exercise.
No, you're right.
You know, and it's, you know, especially here, it's
Right cut.
enjoyable, anywhere, you know, you're out there, you're not bothered, it's,
I
you
cut
know, once you
5.
get the line straight, then you're in good
Well, yeah,
shape.
well, you think you got it straight. It's hard when there's no dew on the green, and you don't know where the heck you start or where the heck you ended.
You gotta guess a lot.
Well, yeah, but Manny, these guys are like anal, so if you have a little jog in that straight line, and I don't see it, they'll come by and say, hey, you messed up
Said
that.
after
What?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, come here, look. I said, holy, I guess I did.
Well,
So you
if you have that
overlap
little
for-
jag, you have to know how to go back and
And fix
straighten it out.
Yeah,
without somebody
I'm
knowing.
learning that too, believe me. My big thing is.
So you need a part-time job, so hire him.
Yeah, I
He's
can
got experience.
I can cut greens, tee boxes, and approaches, and traps. That's my thing.
There you go.
I don't do the fairways,
How much an hour?
not enough.
Not.
He comes
Um,
cheap. Talk to
yeah.
him.
Just as an update.
No experience.
Equipment-wise, the core harvest has been delivered, so that's on site. We do have, you know, not at this particular time, but I put these down there just as reminders of a couple of the items that we had discussed a while back that, you know, in the short-term future, a year to a year and a half, we're going to have to consider is the rough mower. We talked about a bent track. With attachments. The aeration equipment, there's a 684 with a 3-point hitch, which would be a fairway, basically a fairway interior aerator, and then the 648, which is a walking unit, which would do aeration of greens and some tees, and then the Toro Outcross or a replacement tractor. So these are just things to keep in mind that those are, you know, we're at a point in time in our equipment where those need to be considered down the road. Once we get the greens triplexes in, you know, as far as short grass is concerned, we're going to be in pretty good shape. And we're going to have, you know, we're going to have the capability, you know, to have that equipment last for, you know, the good 5-6 year. At least without, you know, at the end, we can make a judgment about whether or not we want to keep it or move on. And I did also want to, I just wanted to touch base again on the hot water pressure washer. I think it's something we should seriously consider. It would help with, as I mentioned before, with cleaning off the equipment and, you know, getting, in the wintertime, getting a complete clean, but also during the course of the season, anytime we need to, you know, if we have a hydraulic leak and it sprays all over the entire piece of equipment, a regular water pressure washer is just not going to get the hydraulic fluid off. It would be a significant assist. It is a significant assist in cleaning the grill, and it would be more appropriate for us to have our own as opposed to continually borrowing one from DPW.
How much was that?
4,200 from.
That's the whole thing, right?
That's the whole thing, yeah. Not including delivery, but then I could go over and pick it up and have it put in the back of my truck, tie it down, that wouldn't be an issue. Under projects, I don't know if you remember back when we were working on the second hole, we had a little incident and somebody ran into the fence and busted the fence on the right side of the entrance. And
On the second?
No, not in the second hole, on the entrance, the front entrance.
yeah.
Front entrance gate.
Yeah, one of the trucks hit the gate and broke the right side gate. If you look at it now, you can see the right side gate looks great compared to, well,
Oh, the plowing?
no, not plowing.
Oh, someone ran into it?
Coming in, when we were working on the second hole,
Oh, okay. All right,
transporting material in and
Gotcha.
out,
Okay.
Now I
and what
remember.
have you.
All right, yeah, all right.
One of those trucks ran into
Okay,
it
now-
and basically cleaned it out.
Okay.
So we had it was replaced.
Yeah, okay.
And now the left side is starting to give us some problems, but it doesn't match up correctly with the right side because the right side is brand new and the left side is, you know, ancient. And there is supposed to be, in between the two, there's supposed to be a latching system that holds the two together. Right now, we wrap a chain around it, where the latching system holds it together, and then you just lock through the latch.
Right.
So I talked to Dan about, you know, people who do, you know, work on fences and stuff, just locally here in Acushnet, because I also talked to him about the guardrails. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Lake Street and the work that the DPW did down there. You can see those guardrails.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that those would look particularly nice on either side of the fence as opposed to the rocks.
Right.
And that would also stop the people from driving over the rocks who think they can come in and out when they have their four-wheel drive or whatever. Because, you know, we've had that happen in the past where people, the rocks are low enough to where, you know, bigger four-wheel drive can drive over top of them. We've actually even had some people with golf carts drive over top of them. But so I looked at that, and then down at the bottom of the road where the
Yes,
road turns,
that definitely would be a good
there's
spot.
rocks sitting there, and I want, we've had two people,
off the
actually
road.
3 people, come through that, go off the road, and their cars actually went over top of the rocks and got hung up. And it was a problem getting them out, but it also ripped the undercarriage of their car, and they had some significant expenses. So, putting in the guardrails and repairing the fence, I got a quote from, again, you know, a local fellow who's actually, who helped with the work down on down by Lake Street, and has also done work up at Pope Park and what have you. And his quote to repair that and put in the guardrails was $4,200. So I wanted to bring that up for consideration because I think it would save us some issues as far as, you know, illegal entry on either side of that gate, but also it would make the gate, you know, more functional and last longer.
Well, when I tell customers too, I have to lock the gate, they won't say what gate, because they'll actually see guardrails and whatnot, knowing that there's a gate there. We could also put up no trespassing signs.
Sounds like a good idea, fixing this stuff.
A
That's
lot
the-
of people are walking there now, right?
Excuse me?
A lot of people are walking down there. that's-
Yeah, well, we can leave we have a lot of people, I see them at the
Yeah,
end of the
park
day,
there.
so they park up at the top.
Yes.
And they walk down. So
Perfect.
in discussing it with them, you know, I told them, you know, at some point, in relation to where the guardrail would come up along the existing big stone wall,
Right.
we could leave an access
Walking
point
space.
where people could walk through.
Yeah. Well,
And then that way, then you wouldn't stop anyone from being able to walk down.
I got a question for
Take the dog
everybody.
walk.
Is there restrictions to walk there on that course at any time?
I don't know, no, I haven't ever placed any restrictions.
No, I mean, from,
Well, yes,
no, right?
when we're open for play,
Yeah,
I
when we're
tell
open.
customers
Or when we're
not.
closed, because I had a few people come up to me and say, "Can I walk?" I said, "I've walked, but I said, I guess."
I've had residents ask me.
No problem with that?
authorized it.
There's no walk sidewalks, and no
No,
walk
I know,
paths.
but they walk, I mean, that whole course is close to what, 6 miles?
5 miles total.
Yeah.
5 miles, so they walk the perimeter.
They walk the perimeter or they walk
Right.
the cart path.
Right.
We have people we have people out there 5:30 in the morning running.
Oh, okay, all right.
So,
Just wondering.
the only thing that I mention to people, if they ask me, is I said, if you're going to do it during the time at which we're open, it would be best to get here around 6 o'clock, between 6 and 8, because once the golfers
Yeah.
start,
Yeah.
then, you know, you're taking, taking your life in your own
More-
hands sometimes,
Yeah.
but
These
you're also confusing the
These
golfer.
people were more interested in the off-season.
Yeah.
Because
No, I-
when golf is, they walk somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
When we start showing up in early spring and people are still doing their routine,
Right.
once we've
They
finalized
kinda
the
back
open
off,
date,
right?
I'd let them know. You know, hey, we're open in 3 weeks, so just
Yeah.
keep that in mind. And
They
but
don't.
no, listen. I think the more eyes we have down there policing it,
Yeah.
the better off we are. Because I receive calls and texts sometimes. Hey, we
Asking.
just had a storm last night. You got another tree down? I'll call Steve. Hey, when you going tomorrow, check the 5th hole or whatever.
Just wanted to make sure they weren't doing anything they shouldn't. you know?
You had to wrangle a horse a few weeks ago, Steve?
Huh?
You had to wrangle a horse a few weeks
We
ago?
had to wrangle a horse back in October. That was it. No, it wasn't October. It was December, wasn't
Yes.
it? Beginning of
Yes.
December.
Yeah.
I'd have to look
Two
at
horses.
Yeah, 2 of them. Now, I actually, those horses, believe it or not, came in behind the 12th green. So I've sent, they walked right across the bridge.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Nice
put
casual
a,
stroll.
I put a chain up across the bridge just
Good
so the
idea.
horse wouldn't walk through
So,
it.
so now they're gonna jump it.
Probably. I don't know. I don't know how excited they're interested they are in hopping over it again. But
So I had a customer that came and played like maybe 2 days after that happened with the horse, and he was going off. I came home from work the other night. This crazy man, he's walking down the street with 2 horses. Like, I know where he was coming from.
yeah, because the animal control and the police finally got a hold of the person who owned the horses, and he came down.
Is that on the other side of the street, of Main Street?
I'm not sure who. I think they came across Main Street. Yeah, and they
Yeah,
came
there
across
is.
and walked down through and.
Yeah, there's that
There are some horses.
sunny
Yeah.
farm.
Yeah, I don't know
there, right?
what
I
the
don't-
name is, but
You know where I mean,
yeah,
right?
yeah, the big barn.
You doubt it.
So that was for the gate and the guardrails. His price was 4,200. And whether
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
I agree.
Yeah, get that fixed.
we have been, if you remember, geez, I think it was back in September. We discussed and approved some expense for signage and repair of the water coolers. We've actually started repairing the water coolers and the trash receptacles. Basically, we're tearing them down, replacing any of the components that aren't stable anymore, and we'll be staining those and have those ready to go back out on the golf course. As far as I also today I spoke with a couple representatives from a company called Solitude Lake Management in regards to the invasion of cattails in the pond on 15, and we discussed what we could do to abate that, and it's basically a herbicide treatment which would come at some point in August or September, and then 6 to 8 weeks after that it would be a hydro raking to remove the plants once the herbicide did its work. And it's a systemic herbicide, so the herbicide gets into the plant, goes down in through the root system, and also spreads out to the stolons and rhizomes that the cattails send up, which causes the infill that we've had around the edge of the pond. So we're starting that. I've got to get a hold of the folks at the Conservation Commission and speak to them with regards to propose what we want to do, what they would like to have us do, if anything, in regard to that, and so on. So just wanted to let people know that was in process. I did speak with John Romanelli. Not this week, but the prior week. He was going to be working, he said he'd be working on 11 and on the 9th fairway, the right side down there by the tee on the 11th and 12th of January. I tried to get touch base with him today. I didn't hear back from him. I just wanted to know how he was progressed down there. He was going to put markers out, and mark where the boundary line was, and then at some point in the future, we should probably look to putting some permanent type marker there, just so we can relocate it and know exactly where that line is. And then as far as the 4th hole is concerned, we'd probably be doing some work on the 4th hole. Once he said there wasn't much information on the 4th hole. So he asked me if I had any information, so I'm going to see if I can talk with the assessor's office and see if we have anything that would indicate, yes, there's a orange post here or in the ground, a pipe or something that we
Right.
can start locating off of.
Are we close to that other, the facility that is on the right side of 4?
The Cranberry Bogs,
Yeah.
Catino's Cranberry Bogs.
Whoever that is?
Yes and no. I mean,
Yeah.
down, but the T end, you're relatively close.
A little tight.
Up to the green end, I'm not quite so sure, is they, when I first got here, I walked back through there, and I believe, I can't remember exactly where it was, but I found basically a post that was a bound, but then there had been some clearing around where that post had been. And then a couple years after that, they constructed a house down below where that post was. And that was about the time, if you remember, we had an incident with ATV operators. And actually, I believe they were apprehended because I believe the Acushnet police have ATVs too. And they kind of tracked them down. But that was where they would access in from back there. But that again, once you get some locating points to tie into, we'll be able to work on that. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to be starting the winter service on the golf carts here in February. And the last thing I wanted to bring up is because I know this was a point of interest at the end of last year. When we do have the tent that I call it a tent. I mean, it's kind of like a practice hut that was purchased for Isaac so we could have lessons in inclement weather, also at times when the sun might be beaming down on them. And Kevin and I were looking at, where could we put this so we would have a permanent spot for it, so it could be, anchored properly and it could be maintained properly. And I think if you're familiar with where the cart pen is and where the building is, you have to be relatively close to electricity, because in order to keep that tent up, it's got a pump that blows it up that has to be plugged in. We originally thought about putting it on the right side of the driving range, where we're clearing out. We could do some, but you'd have to run an extension cord all the way. That'd be kind of ridiculous. So up by the cart pen, there is an area basically around a tree which we have to string trim around and maintain and stuff. And we looked at that and said, if we took this tree out and we leveled this ground, and made a footprint big enough, because it's not only a footprint for the tent, but the wires come down at an angle to hold this thing in. So we make a footprint big enough for that, with some type, either a processed gravel, 6 inches, just so it's firm.
Right.
And we put a few mats in there, and then we can use that, tent. It can be blown up and he can maintain it. So I don't have any numbers or anything, but I just wanted to bring that up because I know Isaac, he was, asking us about it at the end of the year last year, and we just we didn't have the time to put it up, but then again, we didn't really know where we were going to put it. So now I think if we plan...
We didn't realize too that it was going to deflate so often.
Yeah.
Because when we set it up on the other side, it was a pain.
Yeah, it would deflate, and then you had to blow it back up and deflate. So if we can,
So where that telephone pole is,
well, is there a telephone pole
No,
there?
on the other side of the cot pen.
On the other
The
side of
tree.
the cart pen, not on the parking lot side. On the other side,
Bridge.
the cart
Red
pen.
side,
The
yes.
cart pen's a rectangle,
Yeah.
and down you have that one little beverage, the little storage building there.
right?
Well, if you come up the hill a little bit, there's kind of an already
tree.
somewhat
Okay.
flat spot right by one old pine tree that sits out there by itself. And then that was the area where, because it's close enough to run an extension cord or something, and so on. So, I mean, I know if you remember when we were down there putting in the ball shed, it's kind of, if you're standing at the ball shed, it's kind of behind that. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's something I think we should
It's
probably
a
be
little
looking at
closer
doing
to
here
the
in the
clubhouse for
spring.
them,
Well,
Yeah.
like you said, it's kind of raised up.
Yeah,
It's
right,
flat,
that's-
level ground. It's where we put the pickup.
Yeah,
That's a
we
good
can
idea.
we can come in there and we can come in there and make a have to move the tree down because take the tree down because it would be in the way of doing that. But sometime in the spring we could do we could start something like that so it's ready for him during the season. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it now because we've got a lot of other stuff on the plate and it's kind of wet out there. But that's something I just wanted to bring it up to make sure that we paid it. We were paying attention to it. And we could get something done so it could be used.
All right.
So you want approval to go forward?
Approval to go forward with that idea, I don't think, I
Would
mean,
you be able to take that tree?
it's not gonna, I'll have to look at the tree and see how, see where it would fall down if I did it.
Yeah, assess it.
Because obviously, anywhere, if I can get it to go anywhere other than the cart pen, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
I could probably do it with a PV and a wedge, but I don't know if I wanna, go that extent and have it, I'm not gonna have it fall backwards. It's much
Not
easier.
at
to
your
have-
age.
No. So yeah, I would, I'd like to, to look for approval to go forward with, with the concept, so Kevin and I can figure out what it is we have to do. We basically get some 6x6s, or maybe even a little, we have some leftover stone from the work that we did around the ball shed that we might be able to use to create that border, so it kind of matches what's around the ball shed and stuff, so. Phil and I have to measure it out, we'll have to figure out.
I have a question. Is he gonna give lessons off a mat or turf?
As far as I know, it's gonna be off the mat, because there isn't any other way.
That's not a fair way to get a lesson.
Yeah, I don't know if Isaac.
Well, I mean,
Because there's no missing.
Yeah, I don't know if Isaac would like doing lessons, all his lessons off mats, but maybe a beginner or
Is it there, if you put it there, there's some grass area there?
Yeah, but there's grass area there. I mean, you can plant grass there, but as soon
Yeah.
as you put that thing up over top of it and blow it up, and the sun doesn't get it and the water doesn't get it, then your grass is gone.
What does he give lessons out of, what are they now?
on the turf.
On the turf?
Yeah.
Way to the
Both,
right.
he'll use both sides. Once.
Oh, he'll have to water it himself and put
But
it.
once-
Well, the problem now,
can't go over there and water.
he goes over there. He has lessons on the tee now, and like I said, I mean, I kind of as far as beginning lessons are concerned, we're not giving lessons to PGA pros.
No.
When we get a bunch of 7, 8, 9-year-old kids out there, they don't have to be hitting off the grass all the time.
No.
They can be hitting off the mat until they learn actually how to play, and even the beginning senior. I mean, the first person, the 45-year-old person who's walking out there to play golf for the first time, you're probably better off learning how to hit the ball on the mat, because that might be what you've
I
done
think
when you
that's
were
something
young.
that he'll have to
younger
determine.
kid.
Ask them, and hey, you're a beginner. We're going to get you started on a mat, and then when
Yeah,
you
and then we'll
progress, I'll
progress.
take you to the
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah, exactly. When you get to the point
Yeah.
where you're actually playing. But for people, for seasoned people who are just looking to fine tune their game, then I mean, you will be using the grass tee, but also, I mean, that tent was basically for inclement weather,
Right.
raining, when the bloody golf, when the front of that tee gets flooded.
Yeah.
Or when the sun's out and it's 95 degrees and nobody
hot.
wants to play,
Yeah.
take a
I
lesson.
think he's had
In the
3,
sun.
but went down on him last year.
So if we put them inside that tent, and we really can't set it up on the driving range tee itself, because every time for finish you'd have to take it down. Because it's blocking stalls, and it would interfere with the overhead irrigation. Every time we had to cut, you'd have to move the bloody thing. Then you'd have to put it back up. Then you'd have to pump it back up again. So, you could put it on a turf thing, or put a couple mats in there. If you wanted to get real fancy, you could make the synthetic practice tees that they make, where they put crumb rubber in them and stuff, and it's like hitting off grass anyway. But I mean, take a divot.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, you're not
when
gonna
you
do
start
that.
practicing on mats, you don't take divots.
Yeah,
I practice on mats. I go to the golf course. Very rarely do I take a divot from practicing on mats.
Mm-hmm.
The ball doesn't. The club
but it's just
doesn't go
just
Right.
something that
Just
something to
bouncing.
put out there. Is something that we need to address, because we have that and we should be able to use it. And I don't know if somebody has if somebody has an idea of a better location.
Out of the mat, you would
then
more
we're
line
happy
drive.
to hear it. So.
Well,
And it goes up.
because that doesn't
You-
give.
you-
That doesn't
didn't
give
get
like
under the
grass.
ball.
Yeah, you can't take a piece of the mat out. You know what I mean,
No.
like you take a piece.
Some of our people.
Well, the newer stuff that they're coming out with, you don't take pieces out of it, but it gives
Yeah.
Oh, more.
like
Yeah, they have it with a taller
Yeah.
turf on or
Yeah.
grass or whatever you want to call
Some
it.
of them have, like football fields, the rubber.
the crumb rubber.
Yeah, right. That goes in there. then you know. I mean, if you hit the chrome rubber and the rubber starts freaking flying, you know you're next.
Even on the tee, on the mats that we have now, you can actually stick a tee in
Right.
them.
Oh, yeah,
And
yeah.
hit, instead of hitting off the little rubber tee, if you don't want to, you can stick a wooden tee in.
Yeah, how many people know that?
I don't know, I mean, I tell everybody who's up there because they're, you know, but, and not very many of them know it.
No.
No, but, so,
You gotta put a sign over there,
Use wooden tee.
use a wooden tee.
Make a motion to go forward with the setup for the practice tent.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Look at something for our next meeting, Ed. I know Mandy said you're gonna be away for a while, but
2 weeks. How long? 2 months.
I'm not here March. So April, May, May.
You can't watch it again in March?
Yeah. February I'm here and March.
I'll be back April 1st.
I'll be back April 6th, I think. I'm there 5 weeks, so.
Nice.
you're gonna go busy.
If you want, yeah, sure. Come right down. The more the merrier. My mother-in-law's coming, so that'll be a ball in itself.
Well,
how about,
Motion to
well, we
adjourn.
had the board selectmen's meeting on the 6th that was supposed to be on the agenda for. Would it make sense to be at the end of that week? In February?
February?
February, the Thursdays are the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, and the 29th. This is a leap year, I didn't realize that. So if John's going, Manny's going away next week, and John's going away the 1st of March, you said?
I'm gone from March to April
Yeah.
6th.
So maybe
You got it, I don't care.
what, Thursday, the 8th of February? I don't know.
Yeah.
That'd be okay. I know I can't the 15th, but the 8th, if we wanted to just to,
The 8th,
that'll be okay. Yeah, if we want to just follow up, that'll be right after the selectmen's meeting. That way we know if we get these approvals and we can go ahead.
All right.
Sure.
Sounds good to me.
4:30, same
Yeah.
time, same place?
Sure. All right.
I'll fly out.
Well, the other thing we'll probably have to consider at some
I wanna
point
pay
too is
$12.
budgets.
So other than that, I just need a motion to adjourn.
Maybe I'm buying you one of those watches so you can second it.
All in favor?
Ah.
Aye.
Fine.